Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I have a special guest on. I saw him on the Michael Zuber One Rental at a Time new investor kind of series. But this is Owee Nicolas, and I want to reach out because I also heard he's investing in the Pittsburgh market where I also invest. So
Mhm.
welcome, Owee.
Hey, nice to be in your channel, Mark. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you for having me.
No, we kind of touched offline a little bit, you know, kind of got a backstory of you a little bit. And I was more
Hmm.
interested just because you're investing in Pittsburgh. And then I said, hey, why don't you come on my channel? Because I see you're also, kind of trying to build a social media platform and kind of a brand. And, maybe you can touch on that a little bit also.
Yeah, definitely. I also saw your video in the new investor series from Michael, and yeah, it's good to see someone investing in the Steel City of Pittsburgh. So yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
But you have ties to there, right? Somehow. I mean, like for me, I have never been there yet. I
Yeah,
have never
I was surprised that you haven't. You're the definition of a real out of state investor. Haven't been to that, but yeah, I used to live here I used to live in Pittsburgh. I worked there for 2 years. When I moved here to the U.S. in 2015, I was based in Pittsburgh for 2 years. So I worked there. I had my family. I love the place, right? And it's a good it was a good city, and yeah, we had a great time while we were there.
So were you investing before you moved to the States in 2015 or?
So prior to that, I was based in the Philippines, and my W-2 is I'm a executive for a tech consulting company, and that requires me to travel a lot. So I do a lot of traveling, and I was primarily based in the Philippines before, and I I had my house in the Philippines, but I wasn't really into real estate investing. It was only when I moved here in the States and during the pandemic that I started really, you know, uh, going to and starting investing heavily in real estate, just starting to do a lot of research and really getting to know how to go about it. So
Oh, wow.
I
That's
think
about
it's
the,
fairly new. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, kind of the same timeline as me. So were you, I was doing all, well, I made every mistake possible, just spending my money, not really, you know, educating myself about investing and, having discretionary income and, living above my means and things like that. I made every single mistake. So were you putting money like in retirement accounts or you investing in stocks? And like what led you to, real estate though?
So I was doing some other investments. I was into stocks. I had some, a little bit more passive income around mutual funds. I also did a little bit of crypto. But it was more of when I found out about real estate, I think it was more interesting to me because a lot of when you invest in stocks, you really don't see any of that physical asset, right? But with real estate, you get to see it, and I think that was the main difference for
Yeah.
me. And
Oh,
the big part is you could definitely leverage debt. I think that was the big thing. So, but I was investing somewhat in stocks and other investments. Before I started in real estate investing, so I had a little bit of that background.
was real estate ever a part of you growing up though? Like, did you have family members doing real
Um,
estate?
yeah, that's a good question because so my parents actually they were buying investment properties in the Philippines, right? So my mom and my dad they had a little bit of that background. So my dad was a overseas contract worker in the Philippines, and my mom was the one who really was taking care of us, right? And she started really investing in real estate because some of her relatives, our relatives, was also into real estate, but it's really a very small scale, right? They would look at a plot of land and they would get it, buy it all cash and build a house and get it that rented. And And they did that, for 20, 30 years over a long period of time. And it was really, but the main challenge there is, they really, they couldn't leverage that because in the Philippines, you don't have similar to what you have here where you have fixed interest loans. You don't have a lot of that in the Philippines, and you really had to save. And my parents were both very frugal, and yeah, they made it work. But I saw that my mom did it, so that's why I was able to buy my first property in the Philippines. When I moved here in the States, that was still my mentality that I need to save up, and in order to, I wanted to buy my first house as much as possible, all cash, right? Like that was my mentality. So I didn't know that you could, use debt and leverage that to kind of accelerate and scale your portfolio. So that was the difference. But I had some background. My mom was doing it, but again, it was a little bit different, I would say.
So where are you at currently? Like how many doors do you have now? What are you working on?
Yeah, so currently I have 16 units, and like what I mentioned, I started in Pittsburgh, but I've scaled that. I also have properties in Philly, so Pennsylvania, and then I started expanding Midwest and Wisconsin, specifically Racine and Milwaukee, and then I do still have my properties, two or three properties in the Philippines. And yeah, so that's really my portfolio. So 16 units currently, and yeah, hoping to continue to scale.
So what is the thought process of being in different markets? Because I hear some people like they just want to focus on one market, and you are
Mhm.
obviously, like you're saying, you're in Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and other markets. So what's the thought process behind that?
So initially when I was looking at it, it was more of really for me finding the right market for me. So initially I was looking at Pittsburgh because I was familiar with the area, and then Philly because I had a colleague who lived there, and I was able to partner with him. So that's why I was able to start buying properties there. Um, when I had those process in place, I wanted to try a new market specifically, and I did my research. I found Wisconsin, specifically Milwaukee and Racine, something that would really meet my objective because I wanted cash flow. Right, that was my goal to a decent cash flow to kind of supplement my income. So, and I saw a lot of good cash flowing properties in the Midwest, and at the same time, they meet my target budget at that time. So when I found those markets, and I was fortunate enough to work with a good realtor there who introduced me to a contractor, property manager. I found a solid team that I was able to work with. So when I found those markets out, and it basically after I found those markets and I know I had the right team, I said, okay, I'm good right now. I think with these markets, I can focus and expand my portfolio in these markets. I wasn't planning to add more areas because I did that for about my first 2 years, just finding out which work and finding a good team. And then once I had that established, it was really okay. How do I find a good deal and and really scale my portfolio? So that was really the thought process there. It was a bit of like trying to experiment in the first 2 years, try to find out what works. And like you, Mark, I also made a lot of mistakes. And I think, the way I always see it is mistakes are really part of the process, right? It's only through those mistakes that you learn and you get better. So that has been my mentality since day one, right? Because I also I had a lot of issues with at the start because I was trying to figure things out. But whenever I have an experience, not a good experience, I take note of it and make sure I learn from it, right? So yeah, it's the mindset of always continuously improving yourself.
Exactly. And I think, everyone makes mistakes, and like you're touching on, it's always about learning. And I think that also comes back to real estate is so many different phases and facets to it
Hmm.
that not everyone is going to be great at everything. Like, you kind of got to figure out what your strengths and weaknesses are. And that's also how, you're going to build your team and who you're going to need on your team because maybe you're great at acquiring the property, but you're not good at being maybe a manager of the property or whatnot, or even the
Hmm.
bookkeeping or whatnot. So I think that's super important because a lot of people only look at it like, okay, I just gotta buy a property and that's it. But they don't realize there's so many different components of it. And I think
Yeah.
that's the important thing. So it sounds like you might have went through maybe different maybe strategies or phases. So from your first acquisition to now, I mean, would you say you've changed mindsets a little bit as far as what the end goal is, or how you're approaching things? Because mine has changed
Um,
a few times. Yeah.
yeah. No, no. I think uh when I started my journey, it was clear that I wanted there's a target that I had in mind. It was, targeting 40 units. That was my target. And achieving a certain passive income of about, I think when I planned it around $10,000 of passive income. That was like the goal, right? And what I would say that is still the goal and not get there. But in terms of getting there, it's yes, I've kind of adjusted the way I was doing. But the vision has always been clear to me because at least when I started and when I was going to earlier in my journey, I knew, okay, this is my target. But initially, I was only thinking of doing, buying and holding. So that means I would just have, I have to save up 20-25% of the down payment capital and purchase it, right? But my strategy has changed since I started to, working with partners. I started doing BRRRRs, right? And currently started a wholesaling business to kind of build that capital. So the different methods to get to that vision has adjusted, and I always revisit that every year. But the goal, is still the same. So I think that's how I would describe the journey.
Let's try to stay right here a little bit because I'm kind of
Yeah,
curious about this. So, you said you're, working with partners, raising capital, kind of a wholesaling business. Like for me, I don't know, I'm lazy. So that's
yeah.
a lot of stuff that I don't think I really want to get into. Are
Hmm.
you doing that because you enjoy it, or you are doing that because it's helping you scale quicker?
So I think for me, so I like working. I'm pretty passionate about my work, even in my W-2, right? I mean, I'm very energetic and passionate about the work I do. And when I, went to starting investing in real estate, I had that same attitude, right? That I want to make sure that I'm able to put as much effort into it. If I know I can, provide the value, I would do that, right? So it's also a mindset thing for me that I'm always intentional in what I do, and grateful for all the blessings that goes, that I receive. So yeah, I think I'm able to do a lot because of that, right? It's to me, I try to organize my work. I know, okay, I try to plan my day, and I'm pretty, clear on the different items that I need to do. Um, it also, my background in my work it's a pretty hectic work, right? Being a consultant, there's a lot of things you have to manage with clients, and I feel that helped me manage the work I'm doing, especially when I started doing real estate, because I'm able to uh, compartmentalize the work. Okay, this is what I'm doing now. This is what I'm doing now, and getting that organized. So initially, it just started building up, right? Initially, I was just buying properties, but as I take on more things, I know, okay, I need to prioritize things, and being clear on, okay, how I'm spending my time. So um, again, that is me. I'm able to, I like what I'm doing, and I'm able to um, organize my day, and and make the most out of the my time. So that has worked for me, I would say.
No, so that sounds like a lot of strengths, for yourself. What would you say maybe would be your maybe weakness so far that you're working on primarily in this kind of financial freedom or real estate journey?
Yeah, I think the strength I have is again there's a tendency that I tend to do too much, right? That's finding that right balance is something I continue to work on, right? And because I do like working with people. Again in my work in my day job, I work with a lot of different people, both locally and overseas. So I get to work with them, interact with them. And there's a lot of things that can be done, that needs to be done, I would say, right? But it's really, okay, how do I spend my time, wisely? And that carries over also to real estate, right? Now I've started kind of scaling my portfolio, starting attending real estate meetups. I have folks who are reaching out to me, want to partner. So previously I would, okay, just quickly work with them, but I would notice that that will take time, right? Um, uh, so it's that balancing act of my time, right, and priorities that I'm still trying to work on, but that's something that I continue to I need to continue to improve.
So how does your social media brand, and you can kind of talk about that, like
Yeah.
where has that come into play and how are you leveraging that to help you scale?
Yeah, no. So when I did my real estate and started investing in real estate, I knew that the importance of building a brand, social media brand, right? And this was something I saw early when just looking at the people I follow, right? Whether it's Brandon Turner from Bigger Pockets, and then Michael Zuber, of course. I knew the importance of building your brand, and from the start, after I think I bought my first first two properties, I knew, okay, I need to, number one, start telling people what I'm doing, right? And at the same time, because I was planning to scale, I wanted to build that credibility, not just being seen as a tech guy, right? As a as a consultant or executive for a tech consulting company, but as a real estate investor. And to build the best way to build that credibility is start talking about it in social media, right? And I use my company's name, which is Orange Juice Properties, as a platform for that. And at the start, I would say, and I'm not sure if you experienced this, Mark, but at the start, when you started doing social media, there's a lot of you know what do you call that? Like that that fear of people watching. What will your family say, right? Friends say about it. So there's a lot of that. There's a lot of imposter syndrome creeping in at the start. But I had business partners who were, and even my wife was very encouraging and telling me that just do it. You don't have to think about what other people will say. So it started with that, and really, again, I just used it as a platform to talk about what I've done, and yeah, and then that's what I continue to do.
Yeah, there's so much I want to dig into right there. I mean, but I
Yeah.
totally agree. Like, yeah, when you first start, I mean, you're constantly doubting yourself and you're
Hmm.
just wondering like who's laughing at you while they're watching it and or what
Exactly.
they're saying. And but I try to tell people, you know what, just do it. And the funny thing, and maybe you experienced it too, is the people that are probably supporting you the most is probably kind of like it's a community of people, like this one rental at a time community.
Hmm.
I see just everyone is helping each other, supporting each other, and you know what, it like you said, your family members, family, friends, a lot of these people, they're going to be like wondering like what are you doing, and they're going to be like
Yeah.
questioning, but it's the community and the group, I think, that really is super supportive. And to me, that's really been helpful and eye-opening that, every time I put out videos or content, they're commenting and saying something, and I really appreciate that. And but I do want to touch on, and I was trying to figure it out. I saw orange juice properties, and I was trying to figure out the connection between Pittsburgh, and I was just search, and I couldn't figure it out. And but that I want you to touch on that and kind of where that came from.
Yes, so Orange Juice Properties, right? That's the name of my company. How I came up with the name. So I I thought of like when I thought about it about a name, because I opened my LLC, like I wanted to. I didn't want anything formal or anything to do with real estate. I wanted something that people will remember, and and orange juice is because again, my name is Owee, so that represents O, and then one of my business partner, his name is Jasper, and his name starts with the letter J. So I think it was our one of our properties in Philly that we bought, and I just said, okay, let's just call it orange juice, OJ, right? OJ and orange juice, and it just kind of caught caught on. Like we were able to use that, and there was a lot of people asking me about it, and I saw that as a positive sign because you know people will, that's the first thing they will ask, hey, where did you get the name? Are you like a beverage company or something, right? So yeah, so it was just something that you can it's a conversation starter, and I just like it. There's a quick recall about it, about the company, and yeah, and from there I started building my social media, my social media brand, and just started creating short form videos to educate people, and just use that. And yeah, and it's again, I like it because it's quick to recall. Everyone drinks orange juice, so
Yeah.
it's easy to remember.
So now when people reach out to Orange Juice Properties and wants to connect with you, like what would you probably tell them it would have been your biggest struggle, investing remotely or out of state? Like what advice could you give someone?
Yeah, so if it's an advice for someone who's just starting out or who wants to invest with me, is it more someone just looking to
Both.
start?
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe first, starting out, and then yeah, then someone reaches out and wants to partner with you or work on a deal with you.
yeah, sure, sure. So in terms of people starting out, I would say you have to be clear on why you're doing it, right? Because especially now with social media, there's a lot of information you're going to get out there, and it's very easy to get lost with with FOMO, and just chasing shiny objects, right? You have to be clear on why you're doing it, right? And to me, it's really, I want to build generational wealth for my kids. That was the driver. So I knew that this is not like something I can do in 6 months or 1 year. I knew this is a long journey. And when I was clear on my why and my goals, right, that helped me overcome a lot of the challenges. So you have to be clear on why you're doing it, right? Because if you're gonna have problems. I think that's clear. And Mark, you experienced that, right? You're gonna have no matter how much you read or how many people you talk to, when you start taking that action, you're gonna run into problems, but you're going to learn. So if you have the right mindset, you're going to take those challenges as opportunities for you to improve, right? And sometimes if those some of those challenges will be really difficult, right? If you don't have a clear why, if you don't have something bigger than yourself why you're doing it. And when I say bigger self, right, it can be not just for your family, but for yourself. You wanted financial freedom, right? You wanted something something that will really get you through those challenging situations. If you don't have that, it's easy to quit. So you have to start with the clear intention of the why, and then from there you're able to consume a lot of information, but at the same time take action. I think that's the main thing. I took action. When I decided that I would purchase my first property, I remember it was around August of 2020, because I remember that day when I said, okay, I wanted to start doing this. I start journaling and all that, And so I still know the date, August 1, 2020, right? And I bought my first property in November. But in that couple of months, I immediately took action, called up a realtor, started doing a lot of research. But yeah, it's taking action and just learning from your mistakes. So that's my advice for people who are just starting and wants to go through this real estate journey. But for the other question that you have, Mark, in terms of people who wants to partner with me, so like what I said, I continue to scale my portfolio, and we're looking for partners who wants to for people who want to partner up, whether it's you want to be more of a passive investor, you're just bringing the capital, or you want to come in and help us with a deal, and we do have, whether it's you want just passive returns or an equity cut on some of the deals, we are able to provide that. So we're pretty flexible, given that we're still very small, right? That gives us the flexibility to work with what will make sense. And it goes back to, what are your target? Is it just, hey, I can't get involved because I'm really busy? Okay, then you can just provide capital and we'll work with you to get you, cash flow. Or hey, I want to be involved, I want to learn. Okay. And then, there's some opportunities there as well. So yeah, you can reach out to me in any of my social media channels, Orange Juice Properties. So
I love it. And I think so kind of, kind of want to go back. You kind of touch on some great things that people should, start with. And I think, getting a great agent or team also in place, especially if you're
mhm.
investing remotely. So I know, you're working with one of my guys, Jeremy Taggart, who's in
Yeah,
Pittsburgh, who is
shout
a
out to
rock
Jeremy.
star. Yeah, he is. And I don't know, I've interviewed him a few times, but he is like the king of the house hack. And he likes to claim that, yeah, there's not, probably no one has done more house hacks than him. I believe he's on
Yes,
number
yes,
7. He might be retiring from it, but yeah.
yes.
So shout out to Jeremy, who's in Pittsburgh, who's a rock star agent over there.
Mhm.
But I think that, yeah, that's super important too, is just finding the right team, especially if you are, going to invest remotely. And like you said, there's also an easier way too. Maybe if you don't want that headache and you don't, maybe you're busy working a W-2, you can always reach out to Orange Juice Properties and, invest with him and, get a return on your money instead of just letting it sit there, getting eaten away by inflation. So that's
Yeah.
another opportunity that people do have. But also, we kind of touched on it earlier. I saw
Mhm.
you on Michael Zuber's new investor series, and I also was on there, and you saw my episode. But I mean, Michael Zuber, the One Rental at a Time channel, community, to me that has a big influence on my kind of portfolio and my mindset. So was
Mark, if you don't mind me asking, how did you? I know you're gonna ask me about it, but I'm curious. Like, how did you discover Michael?
the funny thing, and I think we did touch on it too, but I honestly, I think I came across his channel from one of his millionaire, guests, that's weekly guests or regulars, or part of the REI Avengers,
Oh
is
yes, I remember.
Dion.
Yeah,
Yes,
yes,
so
Dion.
Dion
Yes.
McNeely of Dion Financial Talk, who I think really, I caught his episode on Bigger Pockets when he was his episode, The Lazy Investor.
Hmm.
And so I started following him first, I believe. And then he was always talking, or maybe he was always appearing on Michael Zuber's channel. And that's when I came across Michael Zuber's channel. And
Hmm.
I just, his whole kind of that, and that's kind of how I'm trying to build my social media YouTube channel, is that same kind of not so much editing, trying to get weekly guests on,
Hmm.
trying to build a community. But I just love that he's trying to help as many people as he can,
Hmm.
and more just letting people know that it is possible, right? Like he always talks about just getting to 4 rentals is life changing, and you don't need
Yes.
this huge portfolio.
Hmm.
But if you want to, that's fine. But for me, yeah, just his mindset and just his willingness to, I feel like he's always adapting. He's always kind of just, he's like a chameleon. He's changing a little bit, right? Whatever,
Hmm.
whatever the market is doing, or whatever, kind of the economy is doing, he's kind of just maneuvering himself, and
Yeah.
he doesn't get caught in one strategy or one thing. And it's a lot of it too. He's just there to say, hey, this is what I'm doing, and he brings in all these other people that have different strategies. So he's not
Hmm.
saying there's only one way to do it. And I think that's super important, because like you have like Dave Ramsey out there saying this is the only way to do it,
Yeah.
and you have certain people. And but I think like him having all these different guests comes on, it's super eye-opening to see that there's many ways to do it. And just like how you're doing it in multiple ways, right? You're trying to raise capital. I believe you're doing a BRRRR right now, right? Or you're finishing up
Yes.
a BRRRR. So there's
Yeah. In the
so many
middle of one.
strategies. Yeah. So how did you come across his channel? I think I yeah.
Yeah, no, no. So it was through Caesar. So he was the same guy who was with me in the interview with Michael. So the story I told in that interview was, Caesar and I were classmates back in college. Like this was years ago, right? And then kind of lost touch. And then when he first moved here in the US, years before I did. And then when I came here, I was initially based in the East Coast. And then when I moved here in San Diego during the pandemic, we were able to catch up on each other. And he told me that he was investing in real estate. And yeah, and at that time, I was also doing, started my journey. So, and then so I told him, oh, I'm listening to Bigger Pockets and all that. And I'm reading all these books. And then he told me, hey, have you followed Michael Zuber? And I didn't know Michael Zuber at that time. And I said, okay, let me take a look, right? And Michael, I guess he really resonated with me. The fact that he had a W-2 while he was trying to build his portfolio. And because I think that the people that I was following at that time, Josh Durkin, Brandon Turner, David Green, they were full-time real estate investors, right? And uh, although they gave a lot of good advice, but when Michael when I started listening to Michael's content and the way he approached things, coming up with the buy box, like that's what I was doing, right? And I think it started with that. And I love his take on when he does his financial news because it's something that you immediately pick up. You're able to digest quickly, right? And yeah, and I think again his story resonated with me. I bought his book, and yeah, and since then I've been a avid follower.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, that I'm gonna get mine signed this February.
Oh, you wait in line, man. Yeah, I want to get Coach Carson, and yeah, Michael Zuber autographs. But oh, so now that you bring that up, I guess you
Nice.
are going to be in Vegas.
Yes, yes. So yes, so I'll be attending his. I remember it was the 50K celebration. I was talking to Caesar months before, like, hey, when will we have this event, right? Because we were kind of like looking forward to it. Because I remember when he was around 45,000 subs, he was saying, hey, help me reach 50,000 and let's celebrate, right? So, yeah, it's so definitely looking forward to it because I definitely love the community. I'm part of the Facebook group and I read a lot of the messages. There's a lot of people just supporting each other, very positive people, and yeah, and that help that they tell their stories, very inspiring. So yeah, I just love that community.
Yeah, I think it's the best community out there. I mean, I think
Hmm.
you just have a lot of people that everyone is trying to help each other and support
Hmm.
everyone. And the funny thing that you talk about, I mean, we can wrap this up real soon, but how you and Caesar connected after all these years, because there's actually a girl that I went to college with also,
Hmm.
like you said, long time ago. I think me a lot longer than you, but
Yeah,
we were at Cal State Northridge together on the
yeah.
exchange program. But yeah, I probably didn't see her after college, and then I think she saw my horrible social media videos in the beginning talking about
No,
what I was
you're
doing.
social.
And she
I'm a big
just
fan of it.
reached out and she was like, hey,
Nice.
I see what you're doing, and I've always wanted to do this. And so yeah, so she's investing in Pittsburgh also, and I'm trying to get her on the channel, but
Wow.
she's shy.
What are the odds,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. But
Nice.
yeah, and I think that's the amazing thing is like so much
Hmm.
people want to do it, but
Yeah.
they just don't know where to start, or they're just they have people around them are telling them that they're being crazy. Oh,
Yeah.
and I think that's the thing, and that's why this community is so great because everyone here is trying to do the same thing and has the same vision, and I'm glad we got to connect, and this is a lot of
No,
fun.
yeah, it was good. Yeah, thanks for reaching out. I agree when like I think one of the rules from Michael Zuber about audit your network, and we mentioned it in the interview. It's very important, right? Because I also ran into those challenges, like some of the people I work with, because it's definitely a different world. There's a lot of, you know, and they're, their intentions, they have well-meaning intentions, right? When they talk to you, just because, they don't want you to, kind of lose your money, or they're watching out for you. But you really have to understand, the background of the people you talk to, and it'll be good if you start talking to the people that you aspire to be, right? I think that's really what you want to do, and surround yourself with people who have done it, and or who are encouraging your the same journey, trying to help each other. So very important.
Yeah, totally agree. Well, thanks for coming on. Thanks for doing this. But I
No,
know
thanks
you,
for having me, Mark.
yeah, I know you mentioned it earlier, but where can people reach out to you if they want to connect with you?
Yeah, so again, I'm available on all social media channels, I would say, right? So Orange Juice Properties, at Orange Juice Properties, I'm available in Instagram, TikTok, X, and you can reach out to my email, orangejuiceproperties@gmail.com. So yeah, just send me a DM and reach out to me. I respond to all
Awesome.
of them, so definitely I will reply if you reach out to me.
Awesome. And I'll see you in Vegas, and maybe we'll run into each other in Pittsburgh one day. Maybe we'll have
Yeah,
a,
definitely. You should
yeah.
visit, man.
Yeah, we'll have an event out there. We'll get Jeremy and the people
Yes.
that's investing with me. But cool, man. Thanks for doing this, and we'll do this again, man.
Yes, yes. Great being here. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, man. Bye.